Welcome back to the Deep Threats Podcast. We are here live and in action. It is another wonderful week of off-season football. We get to talk about the HBCU Combine? I don't think anybody knew that was happening outside of like maybe 5 people. Maybe 5 people. But that being said, we are going to get a little bit into the offseason today with the NFC South, and we're going to get right into it. But as always, you have my wonderful co-host of the show. Happy to be back here. I know he missed a couple days. He is back live and in action. Wheels, thank you for being here today, buddy.
Thank you, sir. I'm very excited. We're getting through our wants and needs per division. So I'm excited to get through that so we can start talking prospects. And we got the Combine in, 2-ish weeks? Which anybody...
I mean, it's the 27th, so it's like 7 days away.
And per Ryan, this is quoting Ryan to a point, anybody looks good in their underwear throwing. Which he's not wrong.
He's 100% not wrong, but
film doesn't lie. I want to see how you guys...
He also knows, he 100% knows that we don't really look outside of like maybe 3 total drills for certain. When it looks at the quarterback, I look at actually off quarterback drills to pay attention to what the quarterbacks are capable of, and then we look at agility drills.
Oh, and then O-line, D-line, we look at bench press. That's a huge thing I like to look at for O-line is bench press.
And I also, when they do their drop backs and their switch foots, like 3 cone drills and stuff like that, I like to see their footwork move. I'm going to be honest, O-line with pads on or pads off, what is that, like an extra 10 pounds on a 350-pound body?
And the Combine is, so a lot of people think the Combine is for these guys that are going to be drafted, it's for them to get higher. To a point it is, but it's also for the guys that get invited to show themselves even more, even if they didn't really produce in college, to say, hey, I have this, and hype themselves up. But like you said, we don't really get overhyped for the Combine. We look at film, and that's what we look at. We film, as Ryan and we all say, film does not lie.
I mean, film does lie. Film does lie.
For Caleb Williams.
Well, the only reason I say film does lie is there's how many times you guys see a kid underperform in college that has the ability and pops off like
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy didn't have a bad college career.
Tom Brady.
It wasn't a stand-outish college career.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm using
Cam Newton, right? Like Cam Newton was not a good college player. He went to 3 different schools. He struggled. I mean, the dude was a great athletic talent.
Gardner Minshew, he's played well throughout his NFL career. I mean, he hasn't played great, but he's played very well. He did not do the greatest in college.
Right, and I would even argue outside of like
running backs, there's a lot of guys like that.
Same with wide receivers, right? Like Puka Nacua, like he had very good talent, but a lot of people thought he lacked in route running. He was just an aggressive wide receiver who fought for every ball.
I mean, look at Devontae. Devontae was a 3rd-round pick. So I mean, he was in top tier, and I think Cooper Kupp was a later-round pick as well. So I mean,
well, later round doesn't mean that the film lies.
No, I'm just saying it's more or less where they see you, where the media and everybody else sees you, and that's where we try to separate ourselves from. We try to thin out as much as we can with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. But we're gonna get into it today. We're gonna probably jump right into the NFC South. But before we get into that, there's a couple things that I'm sure everybody's heard a little bit of rumors going on in the offseason. We talked about this a few times with Justin Fields that they are wanting a 2nd and a 4th or a 3rd and like a 4th or a 5th or a day 2 and day 3 picks for Justin Fields. Were you able to watch the podcast?
I did not.
Okay, so I didn't watch it.
I talked with my brother a little bit. I think he may have watched
on the 33rd team with the St. Brown brothers.
Oh, no.
Okay, so Justin Fields was on the podcast with the St. Brown brothers, and they asked him the question, why did you scrub your Insta, right? Your Instagram from the Bears.
A lot of quarterbacks, a lot of team guys do this, and this stuff that's going on.
And I think his comment was that I scrubbed it because, it was like he made like a metaphor, like just because you scrub something for your Instagram doesn't mean you're not still playing with that chick. Like what he was essentially saying is that it has no bearing on what the Bears are doing. He just wants an answer from the Bears, but I think he'll play for any team that wants him.
And so
whether that be the Bears, the Steelers, the Raiders, anybody.
And that's the thing. Justin Fields, he can't be picky, but he's not being picky. Like you said, he'll play for anybody. And he has the talent to. Let's be honest. The kid has a talent to produce and be a, I don't want to say a top quarterback, but I think he's going to be an above average quarterback anywhere he goes.
I think at this point with Justin Fields, and
I'm not saying he's going to be this great, breaking records, but he can be a starter, right?
I know what you're saying. I don't know if he can be a starter.
I think he can.
And we may not know, right? Like
people
we may
have to
never
remember,
know.
people have to look at the talent that he really had before DJ Moore. It wasn't really there.
And we talked about that division a
Darnell
little
Mooney
bit.
is not a a wide receiver one. He's barely a wide receiver.
DJ
two.
Moore is the only weapon they currently have.
That and maybe when Cole Kmet has a couple pop-off games. That's about it.
But Cole Kmet has to be utilized. Has to be the right offensive scheme.
And he does.
Right.
But the thing with Justin Fields is also health. He has to stay healthy.
I actually think Cole Kmet's best game was with Tyson Bagent.
I think you're correct. Yeah.
So Cole Kmet, they didn't utilize him. And I saw something the other day, and I don't disagree. Running quarterbacks have a habit of not using a check down, and that's a big issue, right? Because they're instead of throwing it to the running back or the screen or the out route, I'm going to run it myself.
I mean, I don't want to say that running quarterbacks don't check down.
They have a habit of not checking down. I didn't say they don't. I said they have a habit of not checking down because they feel they can advance the ball with their feet.
Yeah, I was about to say yeah, exactly. They feel that they have a better probability of getting more yards on the ground than throwing it through the air.
So not knocking it.
And maybe that's a confidence thing, or maybe that's a hey, I don't trust that guy. But I don't think that's the issue with Justin Fields.
I did not see a lot of checkdowns last year.
I think the issue with Justin Fields is consistency. And that is consistency of talent on the offense and consistency of staying healthy.
Well, and even consistency of coaching, consistency.
Yeah, and Nathaniel Hackett, or not Nathaniel Hackett, who
Nagy?
No, who's the current head coach?
Eberflus? Matt Eberflus?
I think they're keeping Matt Eberflus for 1 year.
One more year.
So
because he was there
this
last year.
I think this year will be the last year. No matter how it plays out with Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. And to be honest,
correct.
For Justin Fields, I think he needs a fresh start. I think he needs a new scene. And I don't think it's him.
Well, you heard the most recent rumors, right? That the Raiders are looking at him.
I don't want him going to the Raiders. That's not a good fit.
You know what I was laughing about I think it might have been yesterday. Could you imagine
if the Browns trade
if Derek Carr went back to the Raiders?
He's never going to.
Well, it's Antonio Pierce now. It's not.
It's not the coaching. It's the ownership.
You think it's the ownership?
It is the ownership, because if ownership really cared about Derek Carr, they would have came down and told Josh McDaniels, "No, you're not. No, we're sticking with Derek Carr.
You know,
he's brought us through dark times. We're sticking with him. The dude almost won MVP until he snapped his leg in half.
You know, we're gonna get into that. Let's. There's a lot to talk about in the NFC South
because I can talk about this all day.
There is actually a lot to talk about in the NFC.
Yeah,
South
I think this division is going to be the most improved division in football this year.
I don't even know. Okay, let's start with
at least in the NFC.
Let's start with the one team who has no first round pick.
And that'll be the
Carolina Panthers. Okay,
they almost have a first round pick. It's
33rd. It's the 33rd. So not a lot of issues with free agents right here. C.J. Henderson, DJ Chark, Frankie Louvu, Shaq Griffin, Brian Burns. Those are two big guys that are
two draft picks in the top 100. Oh my god.
Yeah, Marcus Haynes, Sam Franklin, Laviska Shenault, and then Troy Hill. So my team needs for them.
So corner, outside linebacker, and DN is huge. I mean, you're losing Griffin, Henderson, and then Brian Burns, which I thought they should have traded Brian Burns instead of the DJ Moore.
They can still sign those guys with that cap space.
All right. So of all these guys, who would let's pick three that you would sign. I would sign Brian Burns all day long.
I have to shine Shaq Griffin over Brian Burns because I can get an outside linebacker in the draft. Maybe not as productive as Brian Burns, but a lot cheaper. But Shaq Griffin, I'm going to struggle getting a cornerback in the second round. I'm going to be already at the fourth best cornerback, probably maybe fifth.
You can get Frankie Louvu for a little bit cheap. I don't mind Frankie Louvu.
And I
like him.
I agree.
He has very good value for what he makes, I think. I
agree.
What he puts on the field. He's not a star guy, but he is definitely gonna be on the ball no matter what. He's always there.
You can also re-sign Troy Hill for inexpensive.
Yeah, they're a little bit older. Laviska, I think, wouldn't mind staying there. DJ,
I think Laviska's gone.
DJ, I think he was hurt most of the
no,
time.
DJ played, I think, this whole year this year.
With the Lions, I think that he was hurt.
Yes, yeah, he was hurt when he was with Detroit. But to be honest with you, like, you have Thielen under contract. I would recommend drafting to maybe one wide receiver in this draft, and then probably looking at defensive, like you said, defensive end, outside linebacker, and then maybe trade into this draft, like you said, maybe trade. Tag somebody and then trade him, maybe.
I mean, I would tag Brian Burns and trade him.
Maybe. Outside linebackers don't cost much to tag. I think it's like maybe $8 million to tag a linebacker.
I thought it was 11 point.
Is it? I think that's DN, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
It's the first tag because it goes up per tag. That's correct.
I could be wrong.
But I would. I mean, Brian Burns. There's a lot of teams that are going to go after Brian Burns. I mean,
same with Shaq Griffin.
I think Atlanta goes after Brian Burns.
Same with Shaq Griffin. I don't know enough about Sam Franklin to know how productive he was.
I don't. I'll be honest. I don't.
That defense was pretty solid.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, of a lot of the film that I watched and the recaps I watched of the Carolina Panthers defense, and the defense, like you said, it wasn't bad. So I mean,
it was pretty solid.
They're losing a lot. I mean, it's everybody but two guys on defense. Is what you're losing. You're losing a lot of depth at defensive back,
cornerback,
and you're losing two huge linebackers.
Do you like my knees on there?
Everything, quarterback maybe. I mean,
I like Bryce Young. I've told you this. I think he's played fairly well when you look at what he did this year. The only issue was his ability to create a play in the pocket.
And
that was a problem.
There was a lot of hate on TikTok going towards the Panthers and
there should be
and Bryce Young, but the problem is this isn't Bryce Young's fault. If you want to blame anybody, you got to blame David Tepper, as I had said months ago. You have given a super young quarterback
no weapons.
You traded away all his weapons essentially before he got there. CMC,
whatever, and you gave him a 33-year-old Adam Thielen, and a DJ Chark who has not. I'm a DJ Chark fan.
Yeah.
Who has not been anything that he was supposed to be coming in the NFL.
He has not been anything since he was with Gardner.
We had one year.
And that was with Gardner. But, I mean, my rule is for anybody, quarterbacks especially, you got to give these guys 3 years. You got to give them 3 years to see what
they don't have a choice. They don't have a first-round pick.
They're in the, hey, we're in the same boat as the Niners are when they traded for and drafted Trey Lance. They have invested far too much to give up on him now. So you're going to have to double down and give this guy weapons. You're going to have to go spend in free agency, maybe go after a T. Higgins, maybe go after a Jawan Jennings, who I think would fit perfectly on this team. He would be a good target on third down or a good reliable target for a young quarterback in Bryce Young. I would love that for him. But Bryce Young is going to be talented, but he may not wow you right away. It's going to take some time. It's another confidence thing.
I just thought about this.
Got to build this up.
What if they sign a guy like Shaq Griffin, right? And they sign him like a 3-year, $28 million deal. And they trade him for Brandon Ayuk.
I don't know if the thing is if the Niners lose Jawan, then they're going to have to re-sign Ayuk because you can't lose both.
No, you can't. It's a deep draft. It's a deep draft.
Do they have a first though?
And they still have that kid that showed up last year, Ray.
Oh, Ray McLeod. He came. I believe he was drafted from. He was more of a returner. He's a speed guy. He was drafted a couple years back by
Guess
Pittsburgh.
what, bro? Got to step forward.
Everybody has to step up.
Everybody
next
has
man
to take a step. Yeah.
But I mean,
Jawan,
I would love to see Jawan go on this team. I think he would fit this team perfectly. I mean, opposite side, you can put him in the slot.
But to me, Jawan's just Adam Thielen.
But he's younger.
And he's going to 5 years.
And he's going to be a lot cheaper than any of the wide receivers. Because I'm telling you, yeah. But I'm thinking about 6.5, maybe. That's where I have him. Like it's
a lot cheaper.
But they're talking about tagging T. The issue is you can't trade for T.
Who's tagging T?
The Cincinnati,
Okay.
the rumors are that Cincinnati will tag T. Higgins.
Correct.
Nothing has broken yet, but I am confident they're going to tag T. Higgins.
We've been talking about this even
because
before
you
this
can't
happened, right?
lose him. You have to. I feel like you have to tag him to get some sort of value out of him.
Oh,
because
yeah.
you can't just
you
let him
should have
walk.
traded him last year, or you
should
need to
have.
tag and trade.
As soon
Correct.
as Burrow went down late, so it was past the trade deadline. You couldn't.
Burrow went
really-
down week 1.
No, you're not wrong.
I think he played like shit the first 3 weeks of the year.
because of his calf. I would say the first 5 because I had him in fantasy.
He went down
but
when he came
They
off
should have
the
traded
plane.
him. But the thing now is you're
All puns
stuck.
intended.
You're stuck between a rock and a hard place with Higgins. Either you let him walk or you tag him and trade him because I don't think you can. You can't afford to sign him.
We're gonna get to a guy who's trade bait a little bit later.
But so who's your biggest pick for them?
At 33,
I think you can get a little bit wide receiver. I don't hate there. I think you can trade back up into the late second. But the problem is they don't. What do they have to trade up?
I think at 33, let's say they don't trade. They stay there.
I would ask
33.
for a second and
First
third
pick in
for
the second.
Brian
First
Burns.
pick in the second round, right? Let's just say they have the first pick in the second round.
Yeah.
I say they have to go best available edge player.
Okay. Which second round?
There's a few guys that might fall out of the first because people have left tackles going like crazy in this first round draft,
And left tackles are highly sought after in the NFL,
especially in the
every single
first
year.
round.
Yeah.
Especially in the first round. So
I mean, Lobtu's not going to be there. I haven't done.
and let's
his
just
yet,
say there's
so
5 left tackles, and me and you have about 5 to 6 wide receivers, 5 quarterbacks.
I'd go 6 wide receivers. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if any running backs go in the first round.
But
this
if you
year,
go,
though.
there won't be.
I don't think there will be.
If there is, it's at 32 overall. But because the Chiefs have 32, I think they're taking a wide receiver at 32.
Yes.
Um,
yeah, I'd like that. Yes.
Dude, I saw Troy Franklin to them.
If he makes it to 32, I will. I'm just gonna stop
Dude,
watching football.
Dude, I saw Troy Franklin to the Chiefs, and I was like, that's it. That's the greatest pick for the Chiefs ever.
Yeah.
Rasheed Rice partnered with Troy Franklin, and then you have
MVS still and
you
Travis
still have
Kelce. Book it. You might as well book the next 3 years.
All right. I just might as well just Kansas City. Cheers. Take the
take it.
rings. Take the rings.
So,
NFL and receivers? Whatever.
quarterback. Now that you have maybe,
That's a joke.
I know you do, but do you
can't.
bring in a veteran?
Well, I think you have to have a backup. I don't know who their backup is currently.
Dumb question. Maybe. If you still want, maybe the money talks. I don't know how he's feeling because we had him in Cleveland. Do they say, hey, Flacco, I want you to mentor him? We'll bring in.
If I were to bring in a quarterback as a backup, if he didn't get paid, yeah, you're right, Kelly. Dalton was. That's a good point. If I were to bring in a backup that wants just some money, right? It would be Tannehill.
Right.
You're not going to throw the ball a lot. You're going to protect the ball. You're going to run some.
Okay.
You're going to give it to your playmakers.
Okay.
It would be Tannehill
I don't dislike that. Yeah.
or Garoppolo for cheap.
The problem is Garoppolo is
He's
under
getting
contract.
released. He's
Well,
getting
he's
released.
going until he's getting
Yeah.
released.
Taylor Heineke, Taylor the Heart Heineke. I actually think he's in Atlanta still.
Yeah,
I think he stays in Atlanta. I don't think he
The
goes
biggest
anywhere.
issue with this team and getting a guy like Heineke is they're going to be really tempted to switch to him when things go bad. And
Well, plus of the media hype, right? Taylor the Heart Heineke, like
Yeah.
he came out, he
I
popped
mean, you
off.
saw
It's the
how that
Gardner
happened
Minshew
with
issue.
Desmond Ritter and Heineke. They couldn't. It was back and forth for how many weeks?
And it's the Gardner Minshew issue, right? Like,
I don't want Gardner going here.
well, no, I'm just saying. Well, and actually, Gardner would be the one guy.
Yeah, but the problem is that you have that itch, like, oh, maybe we should start Gardner. Maybe.
Right, that's the problem. I mean, you need to have Bryce Young with as much confidence as possible. So I think a guy like Tannehill, who knows he's towards the end of his career, is coming in and he knows he has to support Bryce Young. You're better off doing
I
that.
like that better than Flacco because I think unless Flacco comes back to Cleveland, he's not coming back.
I wouldn't even be opposed to a guy like Teddy, right? Like Teddy Bridgewater or Terrell Pryor. Like guys that I know that are a little bit mobile, a little bit safer with the ball.
Terrell Pryor, is he retired? Is he in the NFL?
Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod
Sorry,
Taylor. I was
Tyrod
going to say
Taylor.
Terrell
I get
Pryor.
them.
Jeez.
I get them both confused all the time. Tyrod Taylor. I apologize.
As I say.
But hey,
yeah.
let's get out of Carolina because I don't think there's much that's going to happen here. We're not going to hear a lot of offseason news. They don't have a lot of capital.
They have two picks in the top 100, which is not very good.
And if I remember
For how bad this team played last year, I don't see much improvement. Maybe 5 wins.
And if I remember correctly,
At this point.
with Carolina, there wasn't a lot of like.
And they have a lot of cap space, quite a lot. I mean, they can go out and make some moves if they really believe, hey, Bryce Young is our guy. We just need to fill some voids around him on offense and a couple of voids that we're losing on defense. Let's go do that. Now is the off season to do it with the free agencies that are out there, especially like we said at wide receiver. Because at 33, I agree with KJ. I don't think there's going to be a wide receiver that's going to yield that much value that late or early in the second round. I would agree with you taking the best available edge player.
And I to be
or
honest
maybe
with
an
you,
outside linebacker.
There's not a lot of people who they can really like kind of cut money from.
No.
That I think they should.
No, you can't cut Thielen. You can't. There's no way.
Oh no, I don't think you're going to cut Thielen.
Outside of that, who else? I mean,
there's not a lot, right? Like, because you have. Oh, don't forget they have Jonathan Mingo still.
yeah, I mean they have him
And Terrace Marshall.
and Terrace Marshall. I was a huge fan of that dude, and he has yet to show up. I mean, he's Jonathan Mingo, another guy who.
I mean, Terrace Marshall really hasn't been bad. It's
He's
still,
kinda-
him and Laviska Shenault are interchangeable for me.
So kind of like DPJ.
They're yeah. I mean, they're not. They're wide receiver threes, upsides.
Yeah, they have
Like-
they can show up in games sometimes.
Like that's what Chase
But-
Claypool. That's what
yeah,
Chase Claypool
But
was.
this team needs a solid number one because as much as I love Thielen, he's on his way out. 33. You can't rely on him to have a season like he had last year, this upcoming season. So you're gonna have to get a guy that can develop into that wide receiver one, even maybe behind Thielen for like 6 to 8 weeks or maybe the full year and just get his bearings. But you can't afford not to get a guy.
Yeah. See, the only person that they can really take an out on to clear up cap space is their right tackle.
And do you want to?
No, I don't. It saves him $24 million.
And how old is he?
He's 30.
How many years do you got left?
At 2 years under the contract, like it's towards the end of his contract, and this is where you would take the out.
You might have to.
And
You might have to if you want to make some big moves.
I get
You
it.
have to.
Yeah, or you could trade him. If someone needs a right tackle, you could trade him.
Maybe a fifth.
And then
you maybe get the fifth.
they have Dante Jackson, their other corner. Like that's a guy.
He's
that you
up
can,
there too.
That's a guy you can move on from,
Yeah.
right? Like, you could sign Shaq Griffin and get rid of Dante Jackson, release him.
Yeah, some cap casualties. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about running backs? Who we got at running back?
They got Miles Sanders and
I know, but what is Miles? Because I thought they signed him to a 3.
It was a 3-year tiny deal. It was like 3 years for like
10
$10 million or something like that. And then they still have Chuba.
Yeah.
So
Which Miles kind of came out on top last year. He kind of showed, hey, I'm the guy.
no, Chuba popped off. It was a tough one, right?
It's like they didn't
They have
really know
Lamar
who to go
Jackson.
with. Yeah, the corner.
I forget.
I
about
pulled.
that every time.
Oh my god!
forget
Let me
about that every
real
time.
quick. My ADHD going to take over. I opened a pack of cars, and it was the last pack. I was guaranteed auto. I saw and I pulled it and it said Lamar Jackson. It was the year he was drafted,
And you freaked.
and I freaked out until I saw cornerback, Jets, and I was like, mother! And I threw the car. I'm like, come on! You tease me so much.
Do you open from the bottom to see the name first? Ah, that's funny. That is
It
actually
hurt.
really
I was
funny.
like, oh my god, this car is going to be worth something. Lamar Jackson, cornerback for the. I think he played for he got drafted by the Jets.
That is hilarious. All right, we'll get out of Carolina. We're gonna get into. Let's go to the other cluster of a team.
Now this team.
Let's get into Atlanta. Now let's go over the free agents in Atlanta before we go any further. Atlanta has a lot of free agents, right? Jeff Okudah, Calais Campbell, Cordero Patterson, Bud Dupree, Matt Collins, Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, Contavious Street, Joe Gaziano, and Kadero Hodge. So 4 receivers who really didn't see the field but all touched it some.
I think the biggest one they're losing is Matt Collins.
Jeff Okudah, man.
Oh, no, I'm talking about wide receivers. But yeah, no, Jeff Okudah, him going from Detroit going to Atlanta, he kind of he opened up more. I feel like his confidence was there again, and maybe it's something to do with that coaching staff. But he did not perform what he was expected to perform like
In Detroit?
in Detroit.
Correct.
But
That's
Atlanta's
secondary.
kind of like that. They get some of these guys and they pan out.
That's secondary, man. Atlanta was solid.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a solid. I mean Calais Campbell, he's a little bit older. I mean I don't know.
Well, so Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree are kind of guys that like I might let them go.
I would let Dupree go. He's making like don't even just.
I would just let.
He's
that
not
go.
going to be making much this year. I think he's 32, maybe 33. I know he had a pretty long career with the Titans at the time, and then he kind of hopped around and went to the Falcons. But Calais Campbell's kind of in the same boat. I think he's a little bit older. You can probably let him go. You have the draft picks where you can kind of replace these guys. The issue is, who is their number one need that you feel?
So my number one need, outside of quarterback.
Well, I mean, quarterback, obviously. I should say, other than quarterback, who's your number one?
Me, Ryan, and I think you all think they're going to go after a veteran.
Yes, I think they're either going to go after Justin Fields.
It's an advertisement behind you.
Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, or maybe even Baker Mayfield.
Derek Carr.
But
even though Derek Carr is a trade-only candidate.
Yeah, well, there is one team that we will that you have talked about already that I would love Baker to go to, and I'll talk about that once we get through these guys.
Tampa Bay.
No.
I think he stays.
No. You just want me to say real quick, or just
go ahead.
So it was NFC North. I think in the best interest of the Vikings,
really?
Yes, I would love Baker to go to Minnesota.
I still think they draft Penix because he's gonna fall.
Maybe they do, but I think getting Baker, you can sign Baker unless they decide to tag him, which I don't think Tampa will tag him.
It costs way too much to tag him.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to sign him.
Yeah. So, and it's nothing. You know how much I like Kirk Cousins, right? The Achilles
I know how much
injury
you like Baker.
For how much older he is, it just worries me. And I do love Baker since he's left.
What do you mean? He was dancing at the award
and that
show.
doesn't mean anything, man.
He can still
different.
pop it, baby.
Football's different. He's older.
He was springing on that Achilles.
The smart investment is going after Baker for this team.
No.
I would love Baker to the Vikings.
The smart
A
smart investment is to move on.
Draft somebody, yes.
Draft a new quarterback and start Jaron Hall if you don't trust the quarterback, and you deal with one bad year.
Do you trade Justin Jefferson before his contract is up? Because he says he wants to make a groundbreaking contract in the NFL.
I think based on his incremental production outside of this year, like he has year in and year out, he's gotten better and better and better.
Yes.
Outside of this year, no. My only issue is what is a groundbreaking contract if I have an out in 2027? Right? Like, yeah, I mean, the only way you're getting $120 million in 5 years from me is if I have an out in 3.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only way you're going to get that.
Or you get a team option, which essentially is an out.
Club option is an out.
Yeah, it's kind of how they build baseball contracts.
Right. So, to be honest with you, with Addison on the bench,
and Addison didn't look bad in the absence.
I'd sign him, pull a Stephon Diggs. Addison takes over. Now I'm stuck in like the Thielen Jefferson years, right? Where Thielen you thought was going to be the number one, but you thought Thielen was going to be number one, and then JJ popped off. And you go, hey, Addison might be the number one, and they go draft a guy, and that guy might popped off. KJ Osborne's a UFA.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're wrong.
Brandon Powell is also a UFA.
I think they re-signed KJ.
But we talk in Minnesota or Atlanta. He brought up the question of Justin Jefferson possibly getting traded. We're definitely talking Atlanta. We were talking what they needed, and then we actually initially started talking Baker, and he wants Baker to go to Minnesota. So we kind of got off topic there. But if I were to Atlanta, right, at 8,
we have them going after a veteran.
I think they go quarterback if they don't get one, but let's just say they go veteran.
Yeah, let's say they go.
I think Atlanta needs to go edge. If the number one edge is off the board, maybe number 2. Those both might be off the board.
And they're kind of close.
I say you go.
I think you trade back up into the first and go after a wide receiver.
I say you got to go edge here. I don't think you should go wide receiver because Malik Neighbors, a Dunze, it's too high for a Dunze.
Mm-hmm. I want Brian Thomas.
But Ladd McConkey's a guy they need.
Ladd McConkey's a 3rd-round pick.
That's my point. But that's a guy they need. They need a slot receiver.
Okay. But
you know who also would work there? Adonai. Or another guy that would work there is
I think Adonai.
Keon Coleman. Okay, so all of these guys are going to go a little later.
Okay. I don't hate that. Maybe you can trade up a little bit more in the second, get a guy. I don't hate that.
So I think you have to go, and the edge class is slightly thinner this year.
No, you have to go edge.
I think you go edge at 8. I don't think you need a left tackle because you have Jake Matthews, you got Caleb McGarry, and you're paying your O-line right now. So I think this is a team that is a quarterback away.
And this is another team that could easily go after a wide receiver in free agency. They have the cap space.
I wouldn't, but I understand it. I'm not arguing with you. I understand it. Like a Mike Evans would fit here.
Yeah, Mike Evans would fit here. You're playing in a dome. You're not playing in cold
possession
weather.
wide receiver.
Cold, warm weather again.
I like T here actually better than Mike Evans.
I like T there. The issue is what quarterback.
Curtis Samuel would actually be a good gadget player for a team like this.
Yeah.
Because they don't have anybody to move around in.
And Curtis has always shown up,
in the crisscross
he's
patterns.
Always been there ever
backfield.
since he was with the Panthers.
Yeah, this is a team where Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, free agent.
The fact that he's still a free agent is crazy.
Well, he's going to be a free agent until at least March 13th.
Just can't.
When the league opens up the doors to allow signings.
I cannot.
All right, so we'll move on from Atlanta. I don't have anything else for Atlanta. I don't have anything.
How did they get our 199th overall?
Atlanta, we traded somebody to them. Oh, they got ours. I think that was. I don't know now.
We'll figure it out. Whatever. Not to get us off topic. All right. Well,
no, yeah, you really. I can't remember though.
We'll figure it out. Who do you want to talk about next?
I kind of want to know how the hell that pick came from. I don't even think you can figure that out without like.
You have to go way. It's like deep diving.
You would think that they would have like. So if you clicked on a team, right? Atlanta. We're on Tankathon. If I click on Atlanta.
Maybe it was from a.
And then I hit the Cleveland. It doesn't say.
We have Atlanta's pick, don't we?
It just takes me right to it. We do have Atlanta's 228. Did we trade for somebody from Atlanta? I don't even. If I highlight over, it doesn't do anything either. All right, it is what it is. So we'll get out of Atlanta. Maybe we'll figure that out. We were talking about the other day. So we have 2 teams to go over. Obviously, Team 1 and Team 2 in this division. Because we talked about Baker, I think what we'll do is we'll go into Tampa Bay first because the Saints have the roughest offseason ahead of them out of any team in the NFL.
Yeah, they're like negative 60 mil.
Negative 85 million.
Oh, my God.
So the Bucks have the most money of any team in this division.
Found out.
What was the trade?
It was the trade in 2022 when we traded for Deion Jones. We swapped picks. They got a 2024 6th.
Linebacker?
Yeah, we got a 2024 7th.
That makes sense.
Okay. I was like, I know it's something.
All right, weird. So, okay. We're going to get into this one. Free agents currently on this team. And with this one, by the way, this team is going to take a huge flip this year.
This is decimation.
Well, we said last year this team was a year away from like being killed, right? Because of the amount of cap that was on this team. Mike Evans, free agent. Devin White, free agent. Levante David, free agent. Baker Mayfield, Greg Gaines, William Golston, Antoine Winfield Jr., Chase Edmonds, Ryan Neal, Chase McLaughlin, Matt Feller, and Aaron Stinney. Those are both cards.
I mean, you just look up there. Mike Evans, Devin White, Levante, Baker.
There's 5 Pro Bowlers up there.
Antoine. I mean, that alone, you're decimating.
There's 5 Pro Bowlers up there, right?
Yeah.
Devin White, Levante David, Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, and Antoine Winfield. There's 5 Pro Bowlers up there.
Yeah, and just this team may just say, hey, you know what? Mike Evans walk. we're not going to tag you. I would like them to tag either Devin or Levante. I think it would be a little bit smarter on that end.
So
and go sign Antoine.
I have a question for you and the chat. Okay. If you had to sign a guy for $27 million next year, would you sign Chris Godwin at 28 or Mike Evans at 31?
Mike Evans at 31 because he's been healthier and more consistent than Chris Godwin.
Chat, please let me know how you feel about this statement too, because
Chris Godwin has had tons of injuries.
This is currently the situation that the Buccaneers are in, because if they cut Chris Godwin, he's owed $27 million next year. That's a cap saving.
Oh. So they're another team.
Neither.
You have to pick one.
You got to pick one. Well, I mean, you don't have to. You have Trey Palmer, and you have another guy who you have.
I mean, you can
hit the reset button, right?
26 not bad.
They can hit the reset button, right? Like, they really could. $27 million. Like, I would argue pay Mike Evans 18 and cut Godwin.
At that point, the issue is you're not re-signing Baker.
$27 million, by the way, for anybody out there. That if I believe correctly, the highest paid wide receiver last year was $29 million.
As much as I love Mike Evans, I don't think he stays there. I think it's in his best interest to leave, even though he has produced with bad wide
Mike Evans is going wherever he gets paid.
Well, yeah, which is probably going to be Atlanta.
He already has a ring.
Yeah.
I take back the Atlanta statement because I think that with Drake London and Kyle Pitts, they're like kind of Mike Evans. You need a guy underneath.
That's a very large gap of kind.
No, they're both ex-receivers. Like, they're downfield receivers.
Yes,
you need a guy underneath.
Yeah, I did forget about Pitts because he hasn't done anything except for 1 year.
He had 1,000 receiving yards last year. I hate when people say that. Just because he didn't have touchdowns doesn't mean he didn't do anything. 1,000 receiving yards. But he was more productive than Amari Cooper.
Not really. He was not more productive than Amari Cooper because Amari Cooper had more touchdowns.
He did have more touchdowns, but
so then that statement makes no sense. He wasn't more productive.
Well, it depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about putting points on the board,
that's production.
I don't know.
That's where we have to draw the line in production. That's what's hard.
When you have Bijan, we didn't have Nick Chubb, so
they didn't play Bijan.
Bijan had what, 11 touchdowns?
I thought it was 8.
Was it 8? 7? It might have been 8. I'm just saying, like, Bijan had a decent year. I think it was like 980 rushing yards and 450 receiving yards. Like, and it might have been 4 and 3, so it might have been 8. So I mean, Bijan had a productive year.
Kyle Pitts only had 667 yards.
For what?
3 touchdowns last year. Kyle Pitts does not play good.
Dude, he had 1,049 receiving yards.
No, he didn't.
Dude, I just looked it up earlier today.
He did not. 667. We've already had this conversation. Kyle Pitts he's bust. He's bad.
He's not a bust.
He is.
But I'm like 97% sure. I just looked it up today. Where is Kyle Pitts?
667. That is bad.
Oh, I have an issue if somebody...
Bijan only had 4. 4 touchdowns, 976 yards, average 4.6 yards per carry. Now, the average, that's not great. It's not bad. I'll take it, but I don't blame his production on him. I blame the production on the head coaching.
Dude. Oh, I looked at it backwards. That's funny. I'm not going to lie. Why do they put the latest? I hate when people do stats upside down. My bad.
I mean, Drake London almost had 1,000 yards, but again, he only had 2 touchdowns. It's all good.
I'm kind of mad now.
It's fine. Just Bijan, not Bijan.
I agree, Ryan. Rookie season.
That's what everybody's been saying since it's happened, and it hasn't happened. I'm sorry, but Kyle Pitts he's not what everybody thought he was. He's not. He's a mid-level.
I agree
that
rookie season Kyle Pitts is coming. The problem is what, dude? You just said they couldn't pick a quarterback. I can't expect much out of him if you can't pick a quarterback.
I mean, Drake London had no problem putting almost 1,000 yards.
But you have to throw the ball to somebody.
Kyle Pitts is out there. Hit him in the chest. He'll catch it.
It's going to change. Reset and get rid of them both. They could get Renfrow, since Renfrow will probably be cut for
Kyle
the same
Pitts
reason as Evans and Godwin. To be honest with you, with the production that Trey Palmer had last year, I think Chris Godwin's an automatic removal. Like, I really do. You're overpaying Chris Godwin with that contract. The thought process was that Chris Godwin was supposed to replace Mike Evans as the number 1 wide receiver. They were going to move on from Mike Evans, but with Chris Godwin's injuries and inability to stay on the field,
Hunter Renfro's not putting up the same.
Renfrow isn't a 1, but cheaper. Correct, which means I can't put Renfrow on the field as the number 1.
Because that team's going to go. I mean, that team's going nowhere.
I need a 1, right? To say Kyle Pitts is a bust is laughable statement. I mean, you could say that.
It's been, like I said, I give it 3 years. I mean, tell me why it's not a laughable. Tell me why it's a laughable statement. He hasn't produced.
It's an opinion. He hasn't produced to the height.
I love everything, Ryan. You think I'm so wrong every time.
He hasn't produced.
It makes it so fun.
Hold on. He hasn't produced to the level of the number 8 pick.
No, he hasn't.
That's what he means by a bust, Ryan. He means that he hasn't held up to the 8 overall pick, which neither has Bijan in reality.
Well, it's been 1 year. Like I said, I give these guys 3 years.
When you're a top 10 pick, like, I expect a lot out of you.
I expect it. Now, if he would have put up 1,000 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns, I wouldn't be mad.
Johnny, Trey Palmer.
It's not great, but you're still producing.
Trey Palmer is not a number 1 wide receiver. You can go look at some film for him.
He's not.
But Trey Palmer is not a number 1 wide receiver.
He's a
solid number 2. A very, very good number 3. He's like a Tyler Boyd. Like, not a number 1 wide receiver. Chris Godwin would be the number 1 currently. Because Chris Godwin is currently on the roster. They just have an opt-out this year for Chris Godwin.
So Kyle Pitts has missed 7 games.
And that was last year. Not in 2023, 2022.
Yeah, so, I mean,
that was when he got injured.
He's played
2 full seasons. He's played 2 full seasons.
Yeah.
He's got no excuse for last year.
No,
but
I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm wrong.
But me and
because
you
I'm
sit
not.
there and say that Arthur Smith sucks at coaching.
He does suck at coaching, but to say it's laughable is just dumb. Because if you look at the stats and you look at the tape, he hasn't produced what number 8 pick is. He hasn't. I thought he was a number 4, not a number 8.
No, you might be right. No,
I thought he was a top 5 pick.
You might be right. They had the number 8 pick like 3 years in a row, and I thought it was Drake London, Kyle Pitts, but I think you're right. I feel like
he was a 4th.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you.
Who did they take at 8?
That's always what you say. I do look at tape, Ryan. That's always your go-to. The kid has not produced.
Tape doesn't matter when you haven't put it on the field.
The kid has not produced. For being a 4th overall pick, and you have what?
Hold on, Ryan. Stats are the end-all, Ryan. That literally is the end-all. Stats aren't where you define a player, but stats are the end-all.
2,000 yards, 149 catches, and 6 touchdowns in 3 years. That's great. Great numbers, yeah. That's great for the 4th overall pick, Ryan. That makes a lot of sense. Top pick wide receivers will have that in 2 years, let alone the touchdowns probably in 1.
So I have a question for you guys. Do you think Shaq Barrett is worth the money next year? He's taking a $37 million dead cap. The cap hit is like $10.8 million. If they release him,
what age is he?
They're not going to release him. He's 32.
So, oh God, that's not good.
It costs more to release him than to keep him. They're not going to.
You're not going to release him now.
Yeah, they're not going to release him.
What's Pitt's fault?
You know who they will release? Just an FYI.
What's Pitt's fault? Yes, Pitt's fault. Pitt's fault is the fact that he's not producing. Yes. Who else's fault would it be?
Well, we just said the coaches, the quarterback play. There's a lot.
But still, players have to play or coaches have to coach. That's always what we say, right? We always go back to that. Coaching can always only do so much, right?
Yeah, but if they don't put Bijan on the field, is it Bijan? Hold on. If you don't put Bijan on the field, is it Bijan's fault he doesn't produce?
Right. Let me ask you this, Ryan, just so we have it on tape. Because I bet you $250 that he will not have more than 750 receiving yards next year.
How much?
$250. I bet you $250 that he will not have more than 250 receiving yards.
You said 750.
Or sorry, 750.
Okay, I don't want you to ruin that.
I bet you $250 that he will not have more than 750 receiving yards.
Bro.
he will have under
That's a live
750.
on
Let's see
air
how
bet.
confident you
I'll
are in
take
yourself,
it if
Ryan.
doesn't.
Let's see how confident you are.
Kelly's in.
No. You want to be all big talking?
He only bets Chipotle
Show me your
'cause
nuts, man. Let's go. You want to be all ballsy? Say how I'm wrong.
What is that? Is that 25 Chipotles?
I love it. I love it.
Is that 25 Chipotles?
I just love how confident Ryan is, but then when you go to bet with him, he goes and hides in the corner.
If he won't bet $250, is that 25 Chipotles?
No, it's cash.
No. Bet 25 Chipotles.
I don't bet Chipotle. Cash.
But
I want cash.
I don't think you not like Chipotle.
You didn't trigger me. I just hate that you call out every statement I make is wrong. It's really annoying, and then you have nothing to back it up. Because your defense is go watch film. If you look at the draft and the guys I had last year, all but maybe
Ryan, betting
four
actually
in the
does
first.
betting does mean confidence, Ryan.
All but maybe four were not good picks.
25 Chipotles, Kelly. That is one Chipotle a week for half the year.
It just annoys me.
Cater Chipotle for me for two months of catering Chipotle.
Cash.
Johnny, I don't think you need to gain more weight, brother.
Chipotle is my life. Chipotle is good.
He had 667 this year in a bad year. LOL. If I were Ryan, I'd probably take a $250 bet. Because the bet's in Ryan's favor, right? Like
that's not a bad year. That was an average year for Kyle Pitts outside because it's just
outside of his rookie year, that's normal, right? I agree.
Over 3 years, that's what he's averaging.
I can't disagree with you, but I would like to know if Jonnu Smith's going to be on the team next year and what his production is. I don't want to take this money.
Then say you're scared to take the bet.
I got nothing.
Say you're scared to take the bet.
I got to get off Tampa Bay because this is kind of like blown up chat. So, what do you think Tampa Bay does at 26 if they re-sign Baker Mayfield?
Wide receiver.
Okay, so
you can get away with signing some guys in defense.
I can't believe they have to sign Antoine.
So you're scared to take the bet. That's fine.
First, Ryan, can you just not lie in my chat at least once? You do bet money. You have
He's not confident in himself.
Like you have FanDuel and DraftKings accounts.
He's all talk.
You
It's
do
all right.
bet
We
money.
know how Ryan
you play
is.
fantasy football. You do bet money. Like, don't say you don't bet money. That's just lying in my chat. Can we keep the chat honest, please?
Cash. It's okay. You're scared. That's all right, Ryan.
I like how you said I never have and never will. You all of that is called gambling, bro.
It's okay. It's all right.
Ryan,
when it happens next year, Ryan will say, "Oh, it's coming. His rookie year's coming," because that's what all the fanboys say. It's coming, man. Just give it another year.
Chat is forever. Yeah, you play fantasy. Correct. What do you do when you play fantasy? You put money down on your team. What happens when your team loses? You lose money. That's called betting money. No matter how you try to get around that, that's called
He's looking for
money.
a back door. Wait a second. He'll come up with it, all right?
That's called betting. Ask a gambler if fantasy football is not betting. We're gonna get out of Tampa Bay. We're gonna get.
I don't want to get out of Tampa because we haven't. Let's talk about the second round real quick.
Oh, okay. So you think you're gonna go wide receiver first round? What do you think you're gonna do at 57?
57. They're gonna have to go corner or safety. They got to go defensive.
Well, they got to go corner. Because Antoine Winfield needs help back there. They definitely.
Well, Antoine's free agent.
I think they re-sign.
Okay, so do I. I think they let's say they re-sign Baker and Antoine. You have to give him some support, which is corner. We're not even going to talk about it. There's no sense. So that's fine. Let's move on to the Saints.
Johnny, is that the definition in Webster's dictionary? Because I believe that gambling and betting are synonymous with each other. The only difference... I don't think there is a difference. I think they're synonymous. Gambling might not actually include money, a monetary status.
Yeah.
It might be actually just gambling on many things, whereas betting is monetary.
I hope Ryan. I hope Kyle Pitts does have a better year, so Ryan can be mad.
I apologize. I thought I changed the thing, and I was waiting for it to come back. So.
Edge, yes, 100% edge. They have to, but guess what? They don't have the money to sign anybody. So
no, sorry, that's the Saints.
Draft is all they can do.
That's the Saints. So you were talking cornerback.
Oh no, you're fine.
Yeah, I think that when you're looking,
they They have to.
They were missing a pass rusher last year, though.
But is there gonna be one that late?
There might be one at 26. Like, I don't know if wide receiver at 26.
Do you hate T here?
I think once they pay Baker, they're not going to have a lot of money left over. Okay. Right? Because I told you my thought process on Baker. I think it's a 3-year, $90 million deal.
Yeah.
And actually,
which I don't hate.
Spot Track agrees with me.
That's
because
about,
they say his average salary should be about 27.1.
It'll probably be a 3-year with it out after 2.
I think it'll be a 3-year with an out after 2, and I think it'll be probably a $55 million guaranteed.
And there might be some incentives.
A lot of incentives.
Wins,
like if he makes the playoffs,
yes.
and I think there'll be a lot
Pro
of
Bowl, etc.
Yeah. I think there'll be a lot of incentives. But yeah, I definitely think that and I think that's a solid contract for Baker. 2-year, and he might not want a 2-year deal. He might want a 1-year deal, because if he thinks he can reproduce what he did last year, right, he'll get a bigger deal next year from a team. So he might not want a 3-year deal.
But let's flip the script real quick. If I'm Baker and I know they're not re-signing Mike Evans, who was my guy last year, I leave.
So, 2 things. Baker said it'll all depend on the coaches they bring in. They brought in his coach, which I'm not going to say his coach, but they brought in the
coach of his liking.
They brought in the quarterback's coach from the Rams that he was with last year to be the OC. I think that's a move in the right direction to get him to sign.
Yes.
I definitely think Mike Evans should go back there.
So,
and I think they can pay Mike Evans the most money. And they will.
So of all the, I won't say hate that Baker has gotten, at the end of the day, do you think he cares about more of money or more of name recognition?
Baker wants a ring.
So that's why I think he doesn't sign with, I don't think he signs here, because if they lose Mike Evans, he knows he's losing a valuable piece of the offense, which helped him regain his name and confidence. Hence is why I think he goes elsewhere.
Kelly, what do you mean by himself? I
think she's saying he bets on himself. He'll take the money. Whereas I agree with you. I think he wants the ring. I think he wants name recognition again. I think he wants to prove the haters wrong.
I agree with Johnny, too. That's everyone's goal is to get a ring. I get it.
I don't think he's selfish. Now, if you view it that way, that's fine.
I think he's narcissistic. I don't think he's selfish.
That's a better way to put it, yes.
I don't think he's selfish. This is tough, right? I don't know if he'd get more money elsewhere.
Yeah, right. Like I don't think he will.
I don't think he can get more money elsewhere. And like you said, if he goes to Minnesota, I don't think he gets more money in Minnesota.
I don't think he'll get more than $25 million a year in Minnesota.
I mean,
and that's pushing it.
I wouldn't be shocked if some of these team front offices look at average contracts and they go, he's not worth a top 10 contract. He's not worth $45 million.
And outside of the Mahomes and Tom Brady, with the lists of quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl taking up a percentage of the cap, those are the only 2 guys, I believe, in the last 20 years. All right, Peyton Manning are the only guys that have done it.
I think Eli was under contract.
But he wasn't taking up that much cap, I don't believe. I believe it was the extension year. I think that was the extension year before his contract kicked in.
It's been a minute. I don't remember.
It was a David Tyree one, right?
Maybe.
I think that was before. I think that's before his extension officially kicked in.
But I'm trying to think what else. There definitely was other players.
And that's going way back. I was a little kid back then.
It's definitely Eli. Well, no, Eli was within the Tom Brady era.
No, I'm saying at that time for the Super Bowl, I think he was. I don't think his.
There's definitely more than just those 3. Matt Ryan was at the Super Bowl, and he was under contract. He didn't win it.
No.
But the argument was getting to the Super Bowl with that argument you made last year. And there was definitely a lot of quarterbacks that got paid, but then obviously you're lacking in other places because when a quarterback's salary takes up roughly about a fifth of the salary cap, you're going to struggle signing other guys, and you have to make sure you hit with talent. And a lot of these teams struggle with talent recognition sometimes. And that's the hardest part about, bringing guys from college to the NFL.
He was drafted in 2004. The Super Bowl was in 2008, so it was right before it kicked in.
But he had 2 Super Bowls.
It was 2008 and 12.
Right. So one was under contract. Right?
12. Hold on. Let's see how much he was making.
And I don't know how those rookie deals went back then.
Yeah, that's going way back.
Because that was before the last
The 50-year option stuff.
Yeah, that's way before that. Like, rookie deals were dirt cheap back then. So it's kind of a moot point in that situation. And I think the game's changed, right? Because players make more money now. Yeah. Right? A rookie contract, if you win on the 5th year of your rookie contract, that quarterback's making $25 million.
Oh, no, Eli Manning signed a 7-year, $54 million contract entry level from 2007 to 2010. And then that's when it switched to a 6-year, $97.5 million.
Yeah, see,
2010
so Eli got screwed, but Eli didn't need money. But Eli got screwed, right? 7-year contract for a rookie.
He was making $16.25 per million. And
7-year
second contract.
7-year contract for a rookie.
That's insane. I'm happy they changed that, though. I think it's better for the game.
But you got to remember, the game's gotten way more political since.
But you got to remember that he got signed by he got drafted by the Chargers, and so I don't know if that had to do anything with it. That's going way back. 04. Yeah, I was 9. So
yeah, I
don't remember that draft.
04.
Just the history of it.
I was 15. God, you're freaking young. Whatever. All right, so I'm going to get out of Tampa Bay. I still think we'll do this at the end. Never mind. We're going to get into the Saints.
This will be quick. There's not much. Saints fans, you better just buckle up,
This won't be quick, right? And the reason why this won't be quick is because when you actually talk about the Saints, right, we already know.
This is painful.
We already know the biggest issue, right? It's cap space.
You have to get rid of Taysom.
I think Taysom's a cut. I agree.
Alvin
Kamara's definitely it's an out year, right? 2024 out year.
Cameron Jennings still on the team.
Cam Jordan.
Cam Jordan, thank you.
Cam Jordan is still on the team.
They're making huge cuts.
So I gotta update. So Lattimore's making a whole bunch of money. He is a 2025 option.
So next year.
Well, maybe. Yes, next year. All right, so he's a 2025 option.
Cam Jordan.
But they're paying their line, right? That's a big plus. 2024 out option on Kamara. If they release, there's a lot going on here. So Kamara, if they release Kamara post 6-1, it's $11.8 million savings.
How much are they paying him next year if they don't cut him?
If they don't cut him, his cap hit is $8 million. So he makes less than what they get to release him. They're going to release him.
Yeah, they're going to release him.
Or he's going to have to restructure.
Yeah. And I think Thomas was on a 1-year.
And Kendra Miller.
No, Thomas was not.
And Kendra Miller played solid.
Yeah.
So, and they might draft another running back this year.
What about Michael Thomas?
Michael Thomas is a trade candidate. Let's get to Cam Jordan first. Cam Jordan, they don't save any money for Cam Jordan unless they release him or they trade him post 6-1. $13 million.
So they're going to trade.
So Cam Jordan's a trade candidate.
Yes.
Also, Derek Carr, as much as everybody might hate me for this, is a trade candidate.
Yes.
Okay? And the reason Derek Carr is a trade candidate, they save $40 million.
That's half. That's almost half of what they have
in cap if they release him post 6-1. If they trade him post 6-1, they save $30 million in cap.
They're going to cut him. Because I don't think they're going to find anybody to take that contract.
If they are in the same situation that the Raiders were in,
they're going to cut
with Derek Carr, I'm going to die laughing. And Derek Carr, I will almost guarantee it Derek Carr goes to Denver if they cut him. Why would Sean Payton not pick up Derek Carr for $30 million?
Familiarity, history as a chance.
I don't know if he has any familiarity with him. Jake Hayner isn't the answer for.
Oh no, you're right. I'm an idiot. Sorry, you didn't coach him. Oh,
Jake Hayner isn't the answer for the Saints. Is that your statement?
I don't think Derek Carr is the answer for the Saints either, though. You're gonna have to bite the bullet for a year and rebuild.
As much of a Derek Carr fan as I am,
I know
it didn't fit.
No,
it didn't fit.
It's the Russell Wilson thing. It didn't. You got to tear the Band-Aid off. Just tear it off. You gotta.
And the Saints have been fighting with cap for 2 years, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse.
It's because the deal that Derek Carr, it's all that money they pushed back for. Oh my God, Drew Brees.
You think?
I believe it was all the money they pushed back for Drew Brees.
I don't know. They gave Derek Carr a pretty nice, hefty contract.
Well, they were in the same issue last year. We were figuring out how they signed him.
$100 million guaranteed for Derek Carr.
I mean,
that's guaranteed.
I mean, that's not up there with the Browns. The Browns look pretty. That's
$60 million at signing. Derek Carr's salary was like $1 million last year. He made $60 million at signing.
The cap doesn't exist.
You'd pay Baker more than Carr. Yeah, I mean, I understand that argument, but I just had them both pegged at 30.
Carr, I would pay Baker over Carr just because of the age.
Age, right? Like age is a factor.
Well, let's say they're about the same, right? Talent-wise, they're about the same.
No, Derek Carr is better, but I can understand why you would say that.
The age investment, that's where I sway.
I'm Denver, I would take Derek Carr over Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. Derek Carr has a better arm and is more accurate.
I don't know if he's got a better
arm.
arm. I think his decision making's better.
Yes, especially red zone decision making.
Like if he were to go to Minnesota, I'd probably prefer that. Ryan really loves him going to Miami.
Who?
Derek Carr. I go, dude, they're going to sign Tua.
They're going to sign
Calm down. He goes, that's stupid. I was like...
You got to watch film, Ryan. Why would they sign Derek Carr?
Why would they cut the most accurate quarterback in the NFL?
You got to watch film, bro. Like, it's there. Just watch it.
The Honey Badger, he gone.
I don't think...
I don't think they saved much money. They saved $9 million. No, that's right. They saved more than his contract's worth. He's 32.
I'm not mad. I just love you using what you say to me against you. Because I know you're still watching, but you're not commenting.
Okay, so I think right now, this team is not going to be the same team as it is next year.
Not any chance. It's going to be much younger. They're going to trim a lot of the fat of the guys. There's going to be guys that you heard of last year that are not even on the team anymore.
Also, I don't want to forget to say that we didn't pick this up, but Gary Kubiak's. What is double mic?
I don't know what double mic means.
Oh, you're echoing. I'm probably too close. Gary Kubiak his son is now the OC of the Saints, Clint Kubiak. He's now the OC of the Saints. I am sorry if it's still echoing. Let us know, but it's probably because I was like all the way up in the mic. Caca.
Okay.
Yeah, don't mess with those buttons, bro.
How we know?
He gonna break stuff now. I know. Live on air, and then where'd we go? Where'd we go? Yeah. So I would not expect this team to look anything like it was previously.
No.
And what do they do at 14 if they hit the reset button? That's the real question.
I don't think they take quarterback yet. And I don't know if they take wide receiver. I think they got to shore up some of the offensive line. And I would probably go after edge, like you said. I mean, Latu if he's there, but I don't see him making it out of the top 10.
I don't know if Latu makes it past the Denver Raiders situation. Still echoing. I mean, I don't know. Give me a second. if you did lose audio and it came back and there's no echoing, maybe we fixed it, maybe not. Worst case scenario, I have to get rid of the headphones, and maybe that makes a difference. All right, sweet. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. Yeah. So I think this team at 14, I don't disagree with you. I think, but Cam Jordan, right? Like, there's just so much on this team age-wise. Like, they've had a solid defense for like a decade now, and
yeah, they were trying to build the Super Bowl team that they should have gotten there with the Rams game.
You know what? They got the picks to do it on offense this year,
They do.
and maybe trade out of a couple picks for next year.
14's a weird spot for quarterback, right? I don't want to call it
It's a reach,
no man's
it's
land.
a reach for a few guys, right? Like,
But it's too late for the top
but it's
guys.
too late for the top guys.
So
Like,
it's, I guess you kind of are in no man's land, right?
I hate that 10 to 15.
Yeah, it's
I
just
hate it.
it's a weird spurt. Like I would say go 12 to 22 is kind of a
So if a
tough.
team will if a team will trade for Zadarius Smith, I think they would trade for Cam Jordan.
yeah, maybe a seventh.
But I think
Maybe.
Zadarius Smith was a UFA though. I think Dalvin Tomlinson and Zadarius. I'm trying to think of a comp of who would have gotten traded. No, I think he was. I misspoke. I think he was an FA.
I thought the Browns traded for Zadarius Smith.
No, I think he was a free agent along with Dalvin.
No,
Tomlinson.
Zadarius Smith was traded for. We traded a 6 for him.
Did we trade a 6 for him?
I believe so.
I don't think so. I think he was a free agent, but you could check that. But we did trade for Ogbo Okoronkwo, and I think that was like a 4th or a 5th. I definitely think you would trade a 6th or a 7th for Cam.
Yep, Browns. The Browns get Zadarius a 2025 6th, a 2025 7th. The Vikings get a 2024 4th, or 2 2025 4ths. Oh, no, sorry, a 2024 5th and a 2025 5th.
So we're not even gonna see those picks yet.
No,
Jeez, oh
Neat.
but that's the year we get our first round back.
next year, yes.
So we're losing
Yeah,
late round
yeah.
picks. So yeah,
Yeah, he
so
was
we
traded-
did. So we did trade for Z.
I think
We did trade
Obo
for
was signed. Obo
We
was
know we
re-signed.
traded for Ogbo. We signed Dalvin Tomlinson.
Yes.
But we did trade for
But
Ogbo.
yeah, the Zadarius was the trade because I remember my buddy Chris texted me. He's like, "Hey, you guys just traded for Zadarius. Nice."
I
And
remember that. It was,
yeah, because I think you called me that day too.
I was stoked. I was like, Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, Ogbo Okoronkwo. I am 100% in on this D line.
Yeah.
Like,
And it was there.
all
I mean,
guys
it
were
was
studs.
revitalized for
So
sure.
I definitely can see all of those. I can see I can see Cam Jordan getting traded. I can see Mathau getting traded to a contender, the Honey Badger. Like, he could go to a contender next year. Kamara, as much as I think you'd want to trade Kamara, he's a cut.
Yeah, he's a cut or restructure. I think, like you said, yeah.
Maybe he almost signed with the Ravens. This is why I say
Who?
there's no credence in what you said, because I don't think he even signed with the Ravens.
Who?
Zadarius.
No, he was traded for. He couldn't have signed with anybody. He was traded.
Correct.
Unless he's
So-
talking about Obo.
No, he's talking about Zadarius. Because we had a slight conversation about this earlier today, and he's
Zadarius was traded for. I just looked it up off NFL.com.
yeah. You know who's a guy that I think's a huge trade candidate, and I know a lot of people might think I'm crazy.
Who?
I think this team just needs to hit the reset button and send all these players like Marshawn Lattimore, get him out. Injury prone, coming off a rough season.
Him and Thomas. I think you cut Thomas or just.
Well, Thomas is a trade.
Well, what is he making next year? Because I think he's making close to $11.5 million. I think it's towards the end of his contract. I think they paid him early.
1 year,
I thought.
$10 million.
Okay.
No, I think you're right. His cap hit is $12.4 million. They're gonna take a hit because they gave him guaranteed money. That sucks, man. They're gonna take like a.
This was just very bad.
Bad front office.
It was very bad handling. Yeah.
Obviously not.
If he was traded.
If he was
for.
traded. So, and if you did offer him that, you would have had to have give up picks. So, we don't. This is obviously not. This is why whoever you followed that said that,
it's wrong.
it either was A, wrong, or there's lack of information. There was more information that was in that deal.
Because he is still under contract.
For us?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't re-sign him.
No, it was a 4-year. 3-year, $42 million contract from 2024 to 2022 to 2024. So there's no way.
It's not from his mouth unless you have his Twitter account and he said that. He never said that on air. I can guarantee that.
Maybe they almost traded for him and he signed a new deal.
Could not tell you. But I'm not going to get into it because it doesn't matter.
No. We know the truth. It's okay.
But I know that when it comes to the Saints, this is going to be a fun one next year to watch. The NFC South is just...
It's due for a makeover.
It's literally the worst division,
facelift.
but it's literally the worst division in football, and it's going to continue to be the worst division in football because of the way the front offices are ran. Right?
Because between the
Atlanta,
Carolina Panthers, I don't want to call Tampa that because now they're losing everybody. They can re-sign people, but
they've had contract issues for a few years now, and they don't have a quarterback.
They should have extended Antoine and Mike Evans, but they weren't offering anything. I believe they weren't offering anything.
But let's just say you have $40 million in cap space. You have no quarterback, right? Your picks at like 22 or 27, whatever we just saw. And now you're in a situation to where you don't have wide receivers, right?
No.
You don't have a quarterback lockdown. You have two safeties that are
You're
on the
losing
free
your
agency.
secondary.
You're losing almost half your in secondary.
Linebackers
and you
are
only
gone.
have $40 million to solve this puzzle. Like
it's like trying to.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Okay, he then resigned with. Okay, that makes more sense. So that was the deal.
So the Vikings re-signed him in the regular season?
Well, he had said the deal was from 2022 to 2024. It was a 3-year. So it had to. I don't know. It's weird.
I completely. Okay, now I have to fact check you live on air because it's exhausting. Zadarius Smith. All right. So, Zadarius Smith signed a contract with the Minnesota Vikings in 2022 to 2024. He was not a free agent. He was signed. He was under contract with the Minnesota Vikings in 2022. That was not last year. That was the year before last year. We are finishing out his contract on the Cleveland Browns. You did not do it for me because you are finishing the contract on the Cleveland Browns, and that is ending in 2024. So you are incorrect. So I don't know where you're getting this information from, but according to Spot Track, he was signed by the Minnesota Vikings in 2022. He left Green Bay in 2022. So don't act like Mr. Know-It-All in the chat when you're wrong. That's exhausting. You want to talk about something that's tiring. Love you. Look it up on Spot Track. I know you got a phone. I know you got a computer. Right here. If I could, well, I can screen it. I don't even know where my buttons are. There's a screen share. Hold on. I'll have him look at that for 2 seconds. Because I am not good at this portion of... All right. It's this one. Right? Yeah. Okay. Right there. All right. You can see it now on the show. He was not a free agent when the Browns acquired him. You can see it right there. 2022 to 2024. Not a free agent. You see that? And if we scroll up, look at that. 2023 and 2024, he's currently under contract with the Browns. Not a free agent. Right here. Under contract. All right. So if you're gonna call me a liar or say I'm wrong, or I don't know what else you got going on there. By the way, you can say Jesus all you want. This is your fault. I'm doing this. Like, I'm just saying. All right.
All right, let's finish up the
Yeah, we're going to finish up the show here. I don't really have much to get into in the NFC South today. I think you're going to see a complete flip over of the NFC South. That's kind of what it's going to end up being.
It's going to be an overhaul.
Wheels, give me your takeaways for today.
The Vikings should go after Baker Mayfield. That's my takeaways.
Because you were. The Vikings should what?
Go after Baker Mayfield.
The Vikings should go after Baker Mayfield. All right. Now, that's your takeaway?
Yep.
All right. I don't have much of a takeaway today. We're going to continue to give you guys as much up-to-date advice as we can. The league year opens, I want to say March 13th. Combine starts February 27th and runs through, I think, March 4th. You can call me clueless all you want in the chat, Ryan. I appreciate it. There's probably nobody that puts in more time and effort into the show than I do. So I appreciate you calling me clueless. And hey, I'm glad you're here to chime into the chat and
We should
antagonize
show up
Wheels.
once in a while. Be nice. Rather than being in chat.
He was here Sunday. He was here when you weren't.
Sorry.
So
I'm
don't say
hoping
I
I'm-
wish you'd show up. He was here when you weren't.
One show in
So-
what, like a month, 2 months?
Not really. No, he's probably had 3 or 4 shows in the past month. Because he's here on Fridays. Like, he chimes in on the webcam, and we get him here on Fridays. He's here. I'm trying to get him here more on Sundays.
I wish he was.
What'd you say?
I said I wish he was.
Well, you weren't here, and I was wishing you were here, and I was
I
trying to
know.
figure out how to build the scene in my head because it was supposed to be you, me, Wheels, or you, me, and Ryan, and then I had Danielle coming in. So there would have been 4 people talking about the NFC, I
That'd
think,
been
East
crazy.
and North. It'd have been a good conversation. But for everybody out there, I will be back here Friday. Will you be here or no?
No, remember, this
Okay.
the weekend I have the Bible study thing with my dad.
Okay, so you're out Friday and Sunday.
Yeah, but I
Out
will
Friday
be
and Sunday.
back full time.
It's going to be an exhausting
week.
weekend. I will try to have a good show for you guys. I will be here Friday. I'm going to try to bring another guest on the show Friday. So Friday I will be here at 8 p.m. And then Sunday we will be here back again at 8 a.m. in the morning. Hope y'all enjoy the show. We are going to get into the AFC before we get to the Combine. The AFC will have completed by the Combine. So we will, on Wednesday, we'll be finishing up our last AFC team and then getting into the Combine talks. So that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday night, and we'll see you guys Friday.